Hi, welcome back to our continuing education series. I'm here with Bob and Lou. Listen, we got a topic today that everybody needs to know about. It is a pillar of retirement, and that's Social Security. But before I get started, there's something really special about the both of you, and that's your designation, which really makes you an expert in this field. So for those folks watching who want expert advice in the world of Social Security, Bob, tell me what the NSSA designation stands for.
National Social Security Advisor. We just got it recently. It was a lot of fun, right? It was tough. Before we use the word expert, the Social Security Guide every year is about 64 pages, Mark. So I don't know that we'll ever be experts, but we know a lot about it, and we know where to get the answers. So it can be complicated. 64
pages. Thank you for being very humble on that, by the way.
64
I've seen
pages.
You guys do your thing and doing your Social Security seminars. You have a lot of great information to share. And by the way, I've heard that there's over 500 ways that you can take Social Security. Heck, it might even be higher than that, right? So let's get in it right now. And I really appreciate that you brought up the book there, because if somebody at home wants that, hey, just set up an appointment, come on in, and they can get a copy of this book.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, Louis, I'm going to go to you right now. And there's a significant tax implication if Social Security isn't done properly. Let's start out with that.
Absolutely. Basically, individuals believe that Social Security is not taxable, but it may be taxable, and that's where the problems start. Let's go back to a concept called provisional income, and not a lot of tax accountants or advisors know about provisional income, but provisional income is a very, very comprehensive list of many income sources, from rent, from RMDs, pensions, and so on. So if you have significant amount of provisional income, then up to 85% of your Social Security benefits may be taxed. And if you don't know about provisional income, if you don't know about the possible taxation of Social Security, you may have a large hole in your budget. First of all, you might get surprised when you prepare your tax return, or when your tax professional gives you your completed tax return. If you see that your Social Security benefits are 85% taxed, well, then that's going to leave a large hole in your budget, and you're going to have to find ways to meet and fill that hole. So that's the start of the complications concerning Social Security.
And the provisional income list, the list of items that leads to your taxation of your Social Security, is almost everything, including half of your Social Security counts against your Social Security. Isn't that nice? So it used to be tax-free for the older folks. Now not only do you pay in retirement, but half your Social Security counts against your Social Security, right? That's one of the worst
Correct.
So
things
regardless
that
of
people
whether
get
you're
annoyed
bringing
at that.
income or not, it's half of it is taxable regardless?
Well, no, it depends on other items. There are thresholds which are very low, which haven't moved up in 30 years, right?
Correct.
Government tends to index most things, but not this, though. Mm-hmm. The thresholds for provisional income and taxation of Social Security have not been changed in 30 years. So they're catching more and more, and it's intentional, they're catching more and more people having their Social Security taxed at either, 50% or 85%?
Correct.
This is a big problem.
It certainly is, because you work for 30, 40 years or so, and you have Social Security taxes taken out of your pay, and then as a retiree, when you collect Social Security, you're going to have to include that. You may possibly have to include that as income and pay tax on that.
Bob, we need to talk about this for a moment, because there are potentially some things that we can do, bring light to, that can help alleviate this burden. And I think one of them might be, when are you going to take Social Security, right? Because maybe if you're still working, you should not turn that faucet on, perhaps?
Well, most people, when they're still working, there's a penalty. You lose half your Social Security if you're working, if you're earning anything more. I think it's about $21,000 this year. Right. So unless they really need it, we urge people to wait until they stop working. From 62 to 70 is when that's the earliest you can pull it. And after 70, you no longer get any more what they call delayed retirement credits. Now, the credit each year you wait is 8%, right? From 62 to 63, 63 to 64. We can't yet get 8% guaranteed anywhere. So it makes sense for a lot of people to put it off, because 8% a year, if you can push it out to 66, 67, 68, it does make a difference. But it's complicated. It's not so easy.
And what you're saying reminds me of one very important statistic, that many individuals about 90% of Social Security recipients do not maximize their benefits. That's how complicated this area is.
Yeah, because there's so many different ways to do it, but it would seem to me, based on what you're saying, Bob, 8% increase up to age 70, I have to find a different way to compensate myself in retirement so that I can wait to that. Clearly, not everyone's going to be able to get there, and some people, it's absolutely mandatory that they turn that faucet on. But man, if you can wait till 70, it's a huge difference in dollars. Am I right about this?
It is significant. However, it's not that simple. A lot of people who have a lot of money come to us and say, I'm just going to wait till 70. And then we point out that instead of taking at 67, for example, their FRA, their full retirement age, no penalties, you know, if you receive that money from 68, 67, 68, 69, it's a lot of money. When you do the math, the break even, instead of waiting until 70, it's about 10 or 11 years. So for most people to say, I'm 81, I'm ahead on Social Security, I don't know about that. You know,
Really
enjoy it.
important.
Bring it in and enjoy it now. For most people.
And if you do come to our office, we can run a study for you that will help you determine what the optimal age is to start collecting your benefits.
If people, it's really one of the most important factors we haven't talked about yet. If you're very comfortable and confident about your longevity, then 69 or 70 makes sense, right? You're leaving a lot of money on the table. But again, the break even is 10 or 11 years generally, so you're looking at 80, 81 before you're ahead of the game. How important is it that you're ahead of the game when you're 85? You know,
Right.
most people are slowing down in their 80s, so we kind of lean towards taking it in the mid to late 60s and enjoying it a little sooner.
But it's an individualized decision. There's
run the
no one
studies,
answer for everyone.
Right, and
So-
there's a lot of other things. If you're divorced, if there's all these different complications. So I'd like to let everyone know at home, hey, if you haven't taken Social Security yet, and by the way, this is important, if you're already starting to take it, you have a very limited window to which you can reverse things, correct? So if you're, how long in, Bob? Like
12
2
months.
years?
12 months, right.
12 months.
So you
is-
can start it, you're unemployed, something happened, you figure you need the money. If something reverses, you have 12 months to undo it, no interest, just pay the money back and start fresh maybe 3, 4 years later. So that is a nice little tidbit.
And I want to emphasize that you have one opportunity to reverse your decision. So you have to be very, very careful, not only in making the decision to start, but in the decision to possibly return that Social Security income.
You know, I know you guys have worked with thousands of clients all through the great state of New Jersey. How often do you see that Social Security, not a minor part, but a major component of their overall retirement program? How often?
Almost all the time. In fact, we just had a couple in yesterday that are going to have, in a few years, about 80, 85,000 combined. And they were like, 85,000 from Social Security? Yeah, you know, big checks in their late 60s. So it can be, for most people, a base of 70 or 80,000 is a significant component of the income story. So it's critical. Even if, but we should make people aware that if they do pull the trigger earlier, at 62, at 63, at 64, that's a permanent reduction. You know, they're going to be missing some money, but there are cost of living adjustments that can help you pick that up over time. You can get that money back if you're patient.
And I'll tell you something too, if you don't get it right, if you haven't seen someone to potentially optimize Social Security, Bob, is it fair to say that the difference in dollars received could be in the tens of thousands?
Easily, yeah.
Easily in the tens of thousands.
And depending on your lifespan, it could be more than that. It could be hundreds. Yeah, it's not something that we try to run the studies because you don't want to. You only got one shot. Well, one shot plus 12 months to do it right.
And once again, I want to remind the viewers that the taxation is very, very important. You cannot ignore the taxation concept
And
of
underestimate it by
Social
most
Security.
people.
Yeah.
So really now is the time. If you haven't secured, if you're not involved with Social Security yet, you haven't turned on the faucet, now is the time to take the bull by
Take
the
a
horns
look.
and say,
Take a look.
how does this work for me, or how does this work for me and my spouse?
First step, SSA.gov. You can establish a My Social Security and take a look at the benefits. Shoot it over to us. We'll run a study and take a look.
Bob, I've been on that site. It is not easy to use.
No, it's not.
It
It's
is,
the
and
government.
it's another reason why to come in and see and have an advisor run the Social Security optimization report for you. True?
True, of course. It's not intuitively obvious.
The optimization, the taxation issue, very, very important, regardless of how Social Security may have problems in the future.
Louis, Bob, I have one more question, and that's the health of the system. Everyone wants to know. It comes up at election every year. Right. Oh, there's not enough money. People, 20 years down the road, there's no money in Social Security to pay people out. Let's talk about that for a moment.
Regardless of the health of the system, which you're not really in control over, you really need to come and see us so we can discuss, number one, how the taxation of Social Security affects you, and number two, strategies concerning when to start your Social Security benefits.
The trustees of Social Security and Medicare issue a report every spring. And every spring they warn about the health of the system. And by 2034, we're not going to have enough money. We're only going to pay you 78% of what we're showing you on your benefits page. So it's a concern. We don't think they'll ever really cut it. We think they'll just print money, which is a whole nother discussion. That's the inflation discussion. But there are cost of living adjustments to help people over time. Historically, they've cheated everybody on the cost of living adjustments. There were a few years where it was zero. There was no inflation at all. And then recently we've had some very large ones. So there's a lot of working parts, right? 64 pages. That's the main thing to keep in mind. It's not so simple.
Louis, Bob, thanks so much. If you want more information about this topic or anything else we spoke about here today, hey, give us a call in the office and let the great people at New Century Planning Associates help you retire well.